Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the North Warwickshire series, a borough with 33 parishes right at the northern tip of Shakespeare's county. Let's dive in and see where we are today. Welcome back to North Warwickshire again, folks. Now, when I was in Shuttington last week, the sun disappeared behind these clouds, which has cooled things down a little bit, so the hat has gone, but I've left the glasses on because you never know, it may come back out again. Where are we this week then? Well, we're in a place that's got two settlements within its parish boundaries. One of them is called Alvecote, and that's got a priory and a marina. It's going to be interesting to see later, but first we need to walk around the main village. This is Shuttington. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome back to North Warwickshire, folks, and to the fourth parish in the series. This is Shuttington, which consists of two settlements, the main village of Shuttington and the hamlet of Alvecote, which is arguably the much more interesting, taking nothing away, of course, from Shuttington itself. They're both situated close to the county border with Staffordshire, lying just to the northeast of Tamworth. Shuttington's proximity to Tamworth means that even though it's a North Warwickshire village now, historically it has much more to do with that Staffordshire town. It was formerly in the Tamworth Rural District, which was in existence between 1894 and 1965. The parish was then transferred to Atherstone Rural District, which became part of North Warwickshire in 1974. Shuttington's landmarks include St Matthew's Church, a pub called the Wolferstan Arms, and a village hall. The River Anker flows through the parish too, with Shuttington located to the northeast of it and Alvecote to the south of it. The West Coast Main Line passes through Alvecote too, and so does the Coventry Canal, which has a marina. This parish was also the site of Alvecote Colliery, which became part of the much larger North Warwick Colliery in 1951 and closed in 1965. There are now many pools close to the River Anker, created by mining subsidence. So, a fun one this, all in all. Let's go walking once again. We begin on New Road, a long straight lane which runs between Shuttington Village and the B5493 just east of Tamworth. This is one of the newer areas of Shuttington. The historic core is centred around the church to the village's south. At the end of the road we emerge onto Main Road, where there's a parish notice board. You know this drill by now, folks. Next we come to a bus stop where you can catch the 786 service, and that links the village to Tamworth town centre. Main Road is almost wholly residential. It has an eclectic mix of housing styles. There's both some old and some new. Some of the older houses, not necessarily these, would have been lived in by coal miners at one time. We'll get to that later. As the road starts to dip downhill, you come to the village shop, simply named the Village Supermarket. It's on the end of Milner Drive, where there's a curious brick-built structure, a remnant of what this estate once was. It used to be an open cast coal mine. Next to it there's a pond which has an ominous gravestone shaped sign saying deep water. Now as I've been walking down the road here, I keep getting this most wonderful aroma, and it's coming from this pub. This is Shuttington's pub. It's called the Wolferstan Arms, and this is the next thing to talk about. The Wolferstan Arms is largely dedicated to dining, and its hillside location gives sweeping views over the landscape to the south. It's a Marston's pub, and Marston's used to be known as the Wolverhampton and Dudley Brewery, mentioned on this sign. Almost dead opposite the pub is a well-hidden little lane. This is Church Lane, leading to the village's main religious building. You'll pass a blue plaque on a wall on the way, which tells you how Shuttington was recorded in the Domesday Book, Cecitone. So here we are then at the parish church of St Matthew, a small building with a nave dating from the 12th century. It's the smallest within the parish of All Souls, but arguably the oldest, as it had strong connections with Alvecote Priory. Before coal mining was a thing here, St Matthew's was physically linked to Alvecote Priory via a pathway used by the monks. The interior of the building has a more modern feel, having undergone extensive restorations in 1844 and the early 20th century. So that footpath runs right through the church and it brings you to this building. This is School House, because this is School Lane. And one would assume, of course, with this being School House, this is the school it refers to. So this is School Lane, named for the old school. Interestingly though, Shuttington was without a village school until 1870. There's no school now, and School Lane is wholly residential, although it did play a major role in Shuttington life. In the absence of a village hall, the school functioned as a communal building and screened the Queen's coronation in 1953. Putting two and two together, that fact might well explain the name of Coronation Crescent, found off School Lane. From this point until the main road again, it's all housing, and that gives me a chance to discuss a famous resident. His name was Charles George Bonner, and he was born in Shuttington in 1884. He was a recipient of the Victoria Cross. He was awarded it thanks to his actions aboard HMS Dunraven in 1917 in the Bay of Biscay. He died in Edinburgh in 1951. This is definitely a close-knit community, and I'll tell you why, because as I walk around the place, I see loads of people talking to each other. It's as if everybody knows everybody in this place. It's fantastic. Okay, we've got one more section of this main walk to go, and it takes us up to the playing field. When we reach that, we'll turn around and we'll head back towards where the car's parked. But then of course we have to cover the other place in this parish, and that is Alvecote. Here we are at the village hall, or if you will, the Shuttington and Alvecote Parish Hall, which opened on the 8th of January 1989. The hall and its associated playing field have a ridiculously long history that goes back all the way to 1948. It's linked below. The playing field is a good open space for the village, and the complex includes this small playground at the back of the hall. Every Saturday at 2:30 PM, the playing field is the meeting point for the Heart of England Pedigree Whippet Racing Club. There's just a couple of landmarks left now. On the corner of Main Road and New Road, there's a little industrial area. This includes a garage called LG Autos and a company called Supreme Kitchens, based at Manor Farm Buildings. And here we are back to the start at Pear Tree Close. And you know, as well as a good community spirit, the people that live here really do look after the place that they live in. I've seen no end of pretty gardens, and this one behind me I noticed as I came into the place. I thought I'd save it while the end of the main walk though, because it's just fabulous, isn't it? isn't it? Okay, so from here we'll go now to Alvecote, and that's got a marina and it's also got a priory. Not so fast, Andy, my boy. There's one more thing of note about Shuttington. It's reputed that a man named Thomas Spooner is buried in St Matthew's churchyard. His grave, if it's there though, is not an easy one to find. You'll find a few Spooners though, including Anne Spooner, who died in 1841, who lies next to her husband, John. Significantly, next to Anne and John's grave, there's a particularly large stone where the lettering has been obliterated by weathering. This might well be the sought-after gravestone, because Thomas Spooner was a big man. He measured 4 feet 3 inches across his shoulders and weighed 40 stone 9. Thomas was famous because at the time he was considered the fattest man in England. He lived in Shuttington and died sometime around the late 1700s or early 1800s. Despite his notoriety, he doesn't appear in the Guinness Book of Records, which records the heaviest man at over 50 stone. Between Shuttington and Alvecote there's a traffic light control bridge. This crosses the River Anker, which flows into the River Tame at Tamworth. As it passes through this area, there's a series of pools on either side of it, created as a result of subsidence caused by coal mining in the area. And that brings us to Alvecote, which has a history of coal mining. Look to your left as we drive through it and you'll notice a long, unbroken row of terraced houses. Those were coal miners' houses built to house the workers at Alvecote or Tamworth Colliery, sunk in 1875 by Charles Brownslow Marshall. In 1951, Alvecote Colliery merged with Pooley Hall and Amington to form the North Warwick Colliery. 14 years later, North Warwick Colliery closed and the Alvecote shafts were officially recorded as abandoned in 1965. Notice on your right, by the way, there's a railway line. That's the West Coast Main Line, which Alvecote stands right on top of. Can I just say before we go to Alvecote Priory that if you want to visit it, parking is at a premium. I've had to park just here. The Priory is literally just there in that gate. But I will show you something. If you're going to park here, just beware. There is a massive dip. Look how much my car is leaning. That's crackers. Unbelievable. Right, okay, so the Priory is just there. So we're going to head into the Priory first, then we'll come out and have a look at the marina and the railway line and everything else that I've just mentioned in that last driving shot. But it's the Priory first. Just to the south of the Coventry Canal, you'll find the remains of Alvecote Priory, a ruined 12th century Benedictine monastery. Little is known of the history of this one, but it was founded by William Burdett as a dependency of Great Malvern Priory. Alvecote was suppressed in 1543. Very little now remains, and most of its walls have eroded away. The 20-foot-high entrance arch is the most impressive feature that remains, and the whole site is a scheduled ancient monument. Let's have a look at the marina now. To get to that, we have to walk down this entrance road opposite the Priory site. It's here where we find the parish's other pub. In your shot now, that's the Samuel Barlow on the edge of the Coventry Canal. This is the first time we've seen the Coventry Canal. It begins in Coventry and runs for 38 miles to Fradley Junction near Lichfield. The Coventry Canal was a vital trade artery, part of a route that linked Birmingham to London via the Oxford Canal and the Thames. These days it's all about pleasure craft and narrowboats. Alvecote Marina provides all kinds of narrowboat services. As well as moorings, here there's also a dry dock, painting and welding facilities, and even some boat sales too. Lastly, here's a quick look at the West Coast Main Line, which runs alongside the canal and to the north of the Priory. And that's it for Alvecote and for Shuttington as a whole. 4 down in North Warwickshire and 29 to go. I'll be back in the near future, but for now, that's this little run over. Stick with me for some more areas around Tamworth, folks. I'm not done here by a long shot. See you soon. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.